Welcome, financial professionals. I'm Doug Twiddy, Director of Annuities and Partner here at E4. Thanks for joining us on The Brew, where we build relationships and empower wins. Today, I'm here to walk through 4 distinct client profiles and the annuity strategies that fit each situation. I appreciate you joining the conversation. One of the biggest mistakes that we see in retirement planning with annuities specifically is that people try to fit clients into the same type of strategy. And I think that's where annuities go wrong. I think that's where the conversation goes wrong. I think that's where we get lost in the solution. And today, we're not going to talk specifically about individual products. We are here to identify the right client for the right job, because when annuities are used correctly, they're not generic solutions. They become pretty impressive precision tool. So I want to build this around real world client personalities that I think all of us have sitting in our books. So as we're going through this, think about your books, think about clients that you've already been sitting down with and talking to, or even ones that maybe you have coming up soon. So different clients have different fears, they have different goals, they have different definitions of success for retirement. And because of that, the same retirement strategy should not be applied to everybody. So today I'm going to walk through these 4 client archetypes and see where the specific annuity strategies may naturally fit inside the plan. As we go through, think about who you've got that might be somewhat like this, right? If you're already doing retirement planning, think about the people that are looking at just an RMD strategy or a bucket list or a flooring plan, or they've got a fear of losing money, they've got a fear of running out of money too soon and they're afraid to spend, whatever those things might be. So this is Dave and Susan. Dave 68, Susan 66, just over $1 million saved. So pretty good savers, very conservative mindset, right? They've got bonds, CDs, equities. Dave's philosophy, pretty simple. If I just take my RMDs, I should be fine, right? And honestly, that's a pretty common mindset for people. It's a retirement strategy, a retirement planning strategy. So here's the issue though. As you probably know, the bond side of a portfolio isn't necessarily doing the job as well as it could. We've got some pretty good interest rates now, especially compared to in previous years, but the income can be inconsistent, right? The reinvestment risk becomes the concern for the future. And they're taking risk without really being compensated here for it. So Dave feels conservatively that his portfolio may actually be inefficient. And this is where MYGA can come in. We've got several advisors that use MYGAs in this very particular strategy. One of our top advisors last year did a ton of these. And it's not a replacement, obviously, for the entire portfolio, but specifically as a bond alternative, the fixed income side. Now we can create predictive yields. We can match maturities to income needs. We can potentially even align some of these for the RMD values in those future years, or pretty close to it. I wouldn't overestimate. And the conversation changes. It's no longer, would you like to buy an annuity? And now it's, how do we improve the weakest part of your portfolio? Right, and that's where the annuity comes into play. So the key takeaway, MYGAs aren't just safe money products. They can become a strategic income allocation tool inside of the retirement plan. Pretty simple strategy. Next, we're going to go into the go-go years. Personally, I think this one fits where my retirement is hopefully headed at some point. I still have a little ways to go. But Mike and Laura, 64, 63, almost $2 million saved, healthy, active, excited for retirement. And their attitude is, we work too hard not to enjoy this, right? They really want to get out and travel. That's my plan. I'd love to buy one-way tickets to other foreign countries and just stay as long as I want to, right? But you got to have a plan to spend like that. And a lot of times people do that and they're afraid to spend the money because they don't want to run out of money. So here, challenge with clients like this is most retirees plans, they do a pretty good job covering some essential expenses. And stick with me on this, right? So they'll cover the essential expenses, but not necessarily the discretionary spending, especially in the travel years, the go-go years. So they leave some of those kind of exposed to some market volatility. And as I said, clients will either overspend early and have some issues in later years, or they become afraid to spend at all and they don't get to enjoy the retirement the way that they wanted to. And this is where right here it says a fixed indexed annuity. It doesn't have to be a fixed indexed annuity, but it's an annuity with a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit rider can really shine. All right, and we're talking about buying one and kind of triggering it right away in this particular scenario. So now we can potentially create not only guaranteed income, but we can guarantee income above the basic flooring needs. All right, we can do a little bit more to support that initial go lifestyle spending. And what's interesting here, or I asked you to stick with me, is in later years in retirement, when travel slows down, they're not necessarily needing the money for that discretionary spending. Inflation has sort of caught up a little bit, right? Advisors and clients, they like the idea of having that increase in income, but they don't like the idea of buying the lower income on day one compared to the higher income that they could get on day one. That's a hard pill to swallow, right? So in here, we can give them higher income, but we can also kind of offset for what inflation is going to look like down the road. So we're not just solving for income here. We're solving for a retirement lifestyle sustainability. All right, the strategy helps solve sequence risks. We're not worried about necessarily what happens in the next years, because now we're really looking at the future as that third bucket. So you can invest more aggressively if you want, because we've done a pretty good job at covering not only the next few years, but digging into that second bucket. It helps solve behavioral risks from the client, lifestyle regrets for not spending their money earlier as they really wanted to. So for the right client, I think that's a pretty incredible value. Next is Carol, 74, widowed, right? About $1.3 million. And importantly, she already has enough money. Social Security plus the pension already covers her lifestyle. She's doing fine. So her concern isn't retirement income. Her concern is legacy. And I see a lot of this, especially about that age. So often what I see is advisors reaching out because a client at this age has a CD or a MYGA that has come due, and they just want to roll it into another MYGA. All right, so they've got large amounts sitting in these CDs, savings, short-term fixed income, because they're afraid of timing in the market, the volatility of it, and they don't want to lose their money. So the issue becomes that the growth may not align with the long-term objective for the children. A MYGA can be a good option, but we have better options, right? This is where an enhanced death benefit becomes much more powerful. Instead of looking at, say, 5.5% interest that we can lock in and guarantee for the next 5, 7, even 10 years, we can do an enhanced death benefit that guarantees 8 and 10% roll-ups per year, right? So now we can guarantee the growth of the death benefit, not the account value, but we're guaranteeing the growth of the death benefit. We're reducing or eliminating market concerns, and we're creating a much more predictable inheritance outcome. So I love the framing of this conversation. If this money was truly for your kids, then why are you investing like it's for you? Because when you're investing for you, you're investing in CDs and bonds. But if it's for your children, and you can't qualify for life insurance, right? Or it doesn't make sense to pay the money for that, why not use an enhanced death benefit if that's really what it is a death benefit? So this shifts the conversation away from accumulation and toward outcome legacy planning, which is exactly what the client intended to do anyways. They just didn't know that option was probably available. Last one is Kevin, age 60, still working, about $420,000 saved. This client is incredibly common right now, where they have participated in a lot of recent market growth, but he knows that he doesn't have unlimited time for continuing that accumulation, or even more importantly, unlimited time to make up for market loss. So his fear is, what happens if we get a major correction right before retirement? Because unlike a 40-year-old, of course, Kevin doesn't have the runway to recover from a big market correction. So we're going to look at another annuity with a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit rider, but this is a little different. We're looking at the accumulation side we're looking at that deferral period. So right now we can lock in those high gains. We can create guaranteed future income on today's rates, which are pretty historically high. And we can give him a pension-like supplement that will go along with Social Security. And psychologically, this often gives clients permission to retire with more confidence, right? Because they're going to have that income down the road. Call it the sleep at night trade-off. The client's going to give up a little upside potential in cash in exchange for dramatically improving retirement certainty down the road. So if at age 60, he is trying to do that safe accumulation, he wants to be aggressive, but he's afraid to be too aggressive. You're hoping for maybe 8 to 10% total type returns so that when you hit retirement age, he can draw 3.5%, 4%-ish for retirement and hopefully not outlive his money, but instead we can move it over to a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit rider. And there are a variation of ways that can handle this, but it might do things like a 20% bonus, 25% bonus on day one, give 8 to 10% guaranteed growth from the benefit base each year that you defer. And then maybe when you retire, instead of 3.5 at 4% withdrawals with uncertainty of the future, you can get 6, 7%, 8% withdrawal rates, and they guarantee it for life. And he can go ahead and lock that in now. So if you look across all 4 clients, the annuity itself isn't really the starting point, and it shouldn't be. The client's problem was they all have different goals, they all have different fears, they have different retirement behaviors, and that's why different annuity strategies, the riders, the features, the nuances in them can be used to fit different situations. So hopefully this has given you a different framework for thinking about annuities, not as products first, but as tools that solve very specific retirement problems. If any of these clients sound familiar, please give me a call. I'd love to talk through some cases. I'd love to talk about the finances that they have. We could talk about tax consequences and Social Security planning and all kinds of other fun stuff. So I'm here to have that conversation. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss a new episode. We release brews on the first Wednesday of every month. You can catch this episode and all past brewcasts in our library. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on The Brew.